What's going on, y'all? Welcome to another episode of the Etan and Devo Show. We're going to talk a little bit of Cuse basketball, and also we have a special guest coming on, and we're going to get our football on again. We did that last week, and we're versatile over here. We're not just hoops, right, E? So
Right.
we're going to talk a little football as well. But E, let's start off with the Cuse. They played last night versus Monmouth. Not the best showing, but give me your thoughts on the game.
I mean, the first thing that jumped out to me was the free throws. I mean, we cannot, shoot 19 for 33 from the free throw line. Was that 58%? Like, we
Yeah,
can't do that against tougher teams. Like, we have to get that. That's leaving what my math is right, 14 points just leaving them. I mean,
yeah,
so the win by 5 against Monmouth, and nothing against them. They played hard. They played, you know what I mean? They were effective, everything like that. But to lose to Monmouth before you go and play probably one of the toughest games that you'll probably play this season
hmm
against Houston, and then have Kansas right after that,
right.
you can't shoot free throws like that.
No, no, they were 19 for 33. So yeah, they left 14 points on the board. And then Donnie made 12 of them. So Donnie was 12 for 14. And then you got guys going down the list, 2 for 4, 2 for 5, 1 for 2, 2 for 5. So we definitely have to clean that up. And another thing too, and Red talked about it on the presser, just energy and effort. Like I know, you might be thinking a little bit ahead to Vegas and about Houston and Kansas and all those games, but you got to be in the present and finish your business here at the Dome. And I just think they came out flat. They had moments where they extended it a little bit, but give Monmouth credit. They kept fighting. They were battling. They were scrappy. And they stuck it all the way to the end. And I think rebounding is another thing. Syracuse is only +1 with their height advantage and the athleticism that they have. It carried over from Drexel, which Drexel out rebounded them by 10 in the first half the last game. So energy and effort, getting on the boards. That's really what rebounding is, right? E. I mean, it's energy and effort and getting after it, and then obviously, like you said, free throws. If we're shooting 57% from the line each game. You're not going to win many games. These games, yeah, I understand, but going forward, you won't win many games if you're leaving that many points on the board.
One of the things that I saw, and you don't want to blame the refs or anything like that, but it's if you're gonna let them play physical, then let them play physical. You know what I mean? Like, I thought there was a few phantom calls. I'll call them that. On Sadiq especially. I did not think all of those was fouls, and it's just, I don't know, that they were being physical with us. And it's you have to be able to allow them to play if you're gonna let them play. You know what I mean? Like, they can't just push us and then we push them back and that's a foul. Like, you have to call it both ways. I mean, do you think I'm looking at this wrong, or what did you see?
No, it was some call. I mean, you look at the foul count. So Monmouth had 27 fouls. Syracuse had 20. So if people want to go in that and look, at the end of the game, Monmouth had to foul a little bit more. So that's kind of where maybe those fouls added up. But yeah, if you're going to call the game, ticky tack, then be consistent calling it ticky tack. At
Right.
least as a player and as a coach, I know how to approach each possession. But if you're going to be physical, call it physical, call it all the way through. No, I know I could play a little different, because it does mess with the players if because they don't know how to go about it. If you're letting them play physical one time and then he touches you on a hand check or whatever, and then they call that foul. So yeah, it has to be some more consistency, but we never want to blame the refs, right? Especially against a Monmouth team that you're supposed to be able to put this team away, and you're probably 25, 30 points better than this team. So if this is how they're going to play going into Vegas, you're probably not going to win too many games out there.
Yeah, and that break down how important it is for us to win at least, say, these next 4 games. We got to win at least. I mean, because you're talking about tournament and the way that the metrics kind of stack up once you're seeing about what you're going to get in and getting a bid, and they look at the strength of schedule. So we have that. We're definitely not ducking anyone, but you have to have those quad one wins, and you know what I mean. And if you come at over on this trip, it just puts you at a deficit.
You
But
can't if
how many games do they need to win? in these next 4-game stretch?
You would say 2, right? You'd want to win at least 2 out of 4. If you win 0, you're probably not going to make the tournament. Just to be honest, because now, unless you go undefeated in conference play or you lose 1 or 2 games, and that's unlikely, right? Especially going on the road against Louisville, North Carolina, and Duke. Those games are going to be tough, but you have to be able to get some credible wins. These wins, these first 4 wins, they don't really do much for you. I know you won by 30 and 40 the first 3. Then this game right here, you only win by 5. So how does that look to the net rankings? I don't get too much into it, but if they don't win any games, they're in trouble. I think they at least got to win 2. Even if they win 1, you would think, all right, we're not in terrible shape, but going 1 for 4 against teams that you want to be talked about with those teams. When you go play Kansas and Houston, you want to be in that echelon, right? Talked about with those guys. So you got to win some of those games. If not, they're going to be in a tough position come conference play for sure.
I mean, but even after this trip, so say after you have Houston, you have Kansas, the third game, who we don't know who that's going to be, but who are the
going to be a top 25 team regardless of who they play, because all those teams who are out to Vegas out of the 18 teams, I believe most of them are ranked, in the top, at least top 30 or whatever it is. But yeah.
And then we come back and we have St. Joe's,
Tennessee. Tennessee. So
yeah,
Tennessee December 2nd. Yeah.
That's a tough stretch. And so I was, looking at some of the comments sometimes, and then a lot of people are asking, are we ready to go out to Vegas? Like, should we have scheduled this this tournament? Like, what benefit would it give for us to go to a tournament, play a team of Houston and Kansas caliber if we're not ready yet?
Yeah, I mean, again, if you want to be recognized as elite in Syracuse basketball, like when you talk Syracuse basketball, you think elite, right? All the teams that have come through here, all the teams that have played, the players, the NCAA tournaments, whatever you want to call it, this is an elite program. So to be able to stay with that elite program, you got to be able to play against these teams and you got to win. And no one's going to, if you beating Monmouth and beating Drexel and beating all these teams, that's cool, right? But to be considered elite, you have to beat elite teams, right? And once you get into the ACC conference, and if you get into the NCAA tournament, these are the type of teams that you're going to be playing against. So, I mean, ready or not, you got to go out there and try to get some wins.
But could we have scheduled it a little bit later? I think that's the sentiment that I'm hearing a lot from the fans. Like, I mean, this is early. We're not even at Thanksgiving yet. You know what I mean? Could this have been a December tournament? Would give us a little bit more time to be able to fine tune everything. I think the fear is that from a lot of the Syracuse faithful that we're just not ready for this yet.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is college basketball. You want to compete at the highest level. I don't care if it's the first, second. I remember Michigan State one year with Tom Izzo. He had like the first 7 games were against all like top 25 teams. And I don't know why he did that. Like that was a little bit of harsh for his guys, but I mean, we're an elite program. You want to be able to beat the best. I don't know if that was even something they could have done. A December tournament. Most of these preseason tournaments are in the beginning of the year anyway. I don't know. Back when you played, it was preseason NIT at Madison Square Garden, where we always played. Some top teams. So if Syracuse wants to get back to where they can be considered elite and go into the NCAA tournament every single year, you got to put you got to, be with these teams and battle head on. You know what I'm saying? I don't care if it's the beginning or middle or later in there. It is what it is. And you got to be able to beat these teams.
Do they still have like the Maui Invitational around Christmas and Alaska Shootout? I might be dating myself. I don't think they even exist no more. But you remember them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I never got to go to any preseason tournament outside of New York. I was just we straight New York City every single time, which is cool. Which is cool with me. I love playing in the Garden, but it would have been great to
playing in the Garden is great, but going to Maui in December,
it's a different.
Yeah. I mean, I love the Garden. Don't get me wrong, but going to Maui and Puerto Rico in December.
Oh yeah. Oh, I will. Okay. We did go to Kansas City. Kansas City. We beat Florida, which is a great team at the time. We beat Kansas. right? So we
Okay.
actually won that invitational down there. So again, those are the teams that we beat. I mean, those are at that year probably top 15 in the country, those teams, you know. So same deal going out here to Vegas. You're playing the number 2 team, you're playing the number, I think North Kansas is 25th or whatever it is, and you'll play another ranked team. So these are the teams. If you want to gauge where you're at, you got to be able to play these teams, and you got to be able to win the game.
It's just tough because, and I understand the fans because they're looking ahead, for these next 4 games. And like what you said earlier, if you do not win at least one of the 4, your season could be done already. And that's, you know what I mean? I mean, that's why I was like, well, could we have shifted that over to Christmas and we were ready to come up? But like we have to get ready really quickly. And I think the thing that happened in Mammoth game, there was a lot of holes that we saw that we don't necessarily, fans won't necessarily have the confidence that we have time to correct them before playing these top teams. I think that one of the things that we look at what we did well. I thought Nate King's, knocked down some shots was what we needed to do.
Yeah.
So that's a positive. I think one of the things that Red kept saying was that there were drop-offs. He kept using that term. There's a lot of drop-offs while we were playing.
Yeah.
We do a stint.
Dips, he was saying, dips.
Yeah, dips. And you have a dip against Houston, you know what I'm saying? You turn around and be down 20.
100%. Like that's what we talk about, just being consistent with your effort and energy. You're gonna miss shots, you're gonna turn the ball over, you're gonna make bad decisions. That's just a part of the game, right? But we're talking about the constants that you have to have, like the 3 E's: energy, effort, enthusiasm. Regardless of what's happening through the game, up, down, whatever it is, you have to stay with those 3 E's consistently. Right. I mean, that's what great teams do when they're down, when they hit a wall, when they're not making shots, their energy level even goes up even more, honestly, because now they're like, all right, we really got to get into it. We got to get more intense, because now the energy is going to create turnovers. It's going to create, 4 shots from the other team. Now we can get out and push the ball. So just when you have those 3 E's, you're going to create something just off of that. Right. But if you're playing where you don't have any energy, you don't have any effort, right, the shots seem, a little bit harder, right? Defensively, like you're not rotating as crisp, like you're not communicating, right? And if you can't do it against a Monmouth team, I mean, what's going to happen against a Houston and a Kansas team, right? Those guys are going to see that too. Like some of these teams early on, they can see it, but they don't necessarily take advantage of it, right? But if you see a great team or a great head coach and they see that, oh man, look, they're not locked in, they're attacking you right away to the rim or whatever it is. They're going to exploit that weakness right away. So that's one thing that if you want to be a great team, like that's a no-brainer. That's a no question. He shouldn't even be talking about that, after the press conference. Oh, yeah, we're talking about energy and effort. Come on, man. These kids getting paid almost $1 million. You know what I mean? And again, it's an incentive. You got to bring that every single time. We weren't even getting paid, and that was no question. I'm going out there and competing at a high level. Yeah, that's a non-negotiable right there.
No, I definitely agree. All right, so give me a breakdown of Houston. I don't know if you've watched them much, even if it's just their style of play. But I haven't seen them much this season, but I know their style of play. And their style of play is very aggressive on the defensive end. They get up in you. They make it uncomfortable for you. There's no freedom of movement. They're right there in front of your face as soon as you catch the ball. Active hands, and just really play hard the entire game. So that is not a good combination when we're playing against Mammoth and we're saying we need to have energy and we need to have effort. You know what I mean? But what do you see out of this Houston team if you had a chance to watch them a little bit this season?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't saw them too much, but just like you said, defensively, that's what they hang their hat on. They're physical, the ball pressure, they're up in you. They're not letting you get any space, right? They're fighting over screens. They're talking, they're communicating. They're rebounding the ball aggressively on both ends, right? And then I think on the offensive end, they're not really known as a transition team. Can they do it sometimes? Yeah. I mean, I think any team could do it. If they have the opportunity to run, they will. But they want to get it in the half court set and really execute. Actually use the whole clock. Like they're going to get the best shot that they could get. They're not going to force any shots. They're not going to take bad shots. Kelvin Sampson's not going to let that happen, right? If they don't have the first shot off it, boom, they're swinging it and they're continuing to move the ball and move bodies. So Syracuse has to be disciplined defensively, right? The whole shot clock. It's not just going to be, you play great the first 5 to 10 seconds. If you do that and don't continue the possession, they're going to get opportunities to score the basketball. And then something that Syracuse has really been struggling with, and I think we mentioned it before, is the half court offense, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're not going to be able to get out in transition like they didn't get out in transition like that last night against Monmouth. So what's going to happen against Houston? Houston's going to rebound the basketball. They're going to get back and they're going to set up on defense, and they're not going to turn the ball over either. So if they're not turning the ball over, if they're not giving those second chance opportunities to Syracuse, it's hard to get out and play fast like that. So Syracuse is really going to have to execute, be patient, right? They can't force any shots because that's what Houston wants you to do. Right. They're up in you physical. They're gonna make you try to take those bad shots, those forced shots. So Syracuse really has to be able to execute in the half court. And I mean, I feel more comfortable, obviously, this year with Nate George at the point guard, and he's another guy that I think has gotten better every single game. He had 12 points, 9 assists. He had two for 2 from 3 last night. He's not a guy who's going to be like getting 30 points. He's a guy that he could get 20, but he's more likely going to have a 13, 8 assists, 4 rebounds, 2 steals game, and just settling guys in the half court, making sure everybody's, in the right spots.
Talk a little bit about Cayenne. JJ, came back, so they're playing the same position. Mm-hmm. What is the best way for them to coexist? Like, what do you think with that dynamic in that situation?
Yeah, I mean, you heard it yesterday. People were like, "Oh, the flow was messed up with taking Cayenne out. He felt different coming off the bench." But for me, right now, this early, I think you got to put JJ back in. He's one of your senior leaders. We talked about last year. He's averaging almost 20 points a game throughout the year. So we know what he's capable of doing. Was it a different team last year? Absolutely. But he's still capable of getting downhill, attacking the basket, getting out in transition, and now free throws, shooting the basketball. It looks like he's still thinking about it, right? He airballed 2 free throws last game, which is that's like mental, like that's you like all in your head about it, because the kid who shot 75% last year from the free throw line or whatever it was, he's more than capable of knocking down the shot. When you get to the free throw line, that's a mental thing, right?
Yeah, I mean it's. Sometimes, I didn't have the highest. I didn't, you shot a high percentage from the free throw line. Most guards, I didn't have a high percentage from the free throw line. But one of the things that was the issue when I was playing, I would be too excited. Like I'd be trying, so a lot of times you'll see me trying to take deep breaths,
right,
trying to calm myself down because I play with so much energy, and it's hard to calm down and relax on the free throw line. Now when I'm in practice, shooting afterwards, I knock them all down, you know what I mean? But in the game, sometimes JJ, I'm sure he practiced on the free throws. I'm sure he knocks them all down in practice and everything like that. But there's something during the game, in the middle of crunch time or even, after that, like focus, like center himself, and everybody has different ways. But we as a team, I'm not going to put it all on JJ, you know what I mean? But we as a team, as a whole collective, cannot shoot free throws the way that we shot last night.
Yeah, I mean, Bryce Zephyr went to the line, crucial, and he missed it. I think he missed 2 free throws as well, down in the clutch. I don't know necessarily why he was in the game at that time, but maybe it was like a offense-defense thing, but they just got caught where he was still on offense, and they fouled him, you know what I mean? So it didn't really work out in Syracuse's favor. But going back to JJ and Cayenne, they need JJ, right? They need another dynamic scorer, a guy who can get downhill and create – with the ball in his hands, because like we saw last night, they started blitzing Cayenne off that pick and roll. They just made him give the ball up, and teams are going to start doing that to him. They're going to get up in him. They're going to be physical. Like Houston's going to have a guy right smelling what he ate for breakfast.
Yep.
They're going to be right in his chin. They're going to be physical. They're going to knock him off his angles. So it's going to be games where he doesn't shoot the ball well or he doesn't score as much. So you need another guy like JJ, because honestly, if I'm looking at the team, yeah, we could look at Donnie, but he's a mid-post guy. He's capable of transition threes, pick and pop. But who's going to be the other guy besides, Cayenne, JJ, possibly Nate George, to go ahead and just get you a bucket when you need a bucket? Because that's a lot of time that's what it comes down to, in the game. Like, we need somebody to make a play. We can do all the X's and O's we want, but I need somebody to get the ball and go ahead and make a play.
No, that's definitely true. I think that is, but it's when you're playing with effort, the good things can happen.
Yeah.
Like I hope we're not hearing, Red come to the podium game after game talking about effort. Like that word shouldn't even come out of his mouth. Right. To be honest with you, like, that's not what he should be discussing as a deficiency during the game is effort. And I just, you kind of give it a pass when it happened in the beginning of the season. And like, okay, they're, I don't know, jitters, whatever. I don't know, whatever reason. They weren't up to the level of their opponent, whatever. But that can't keep going.
And think about this now too, E. You've always got criticism. Like, people always get criticism whenever you're playing college sports, professional sports, but now even more so, they're targeted for criticism because they're really professionals.
Yeah. 100%.
So like, now these dudes are getting paid. So it gives like the average fan a little bit more to like, hold on, I could criticize. These guys are getting paid now. Like, it's not like, they're doing it for free. So it's going to be a lot of criticism, whether it be coach, players, whatever it is. And you don't want to have them criticize your energy and effort. Like, that's like, all right, he can't shoot free throws. He does it. I get that. But don't let them speak on the energy and effort part. That's something that should be, again, that's a constant. That's something that has to be consistent every time you step out on the floor. Because if you do that against Houston, they're going to blow you out. They're going to blow you out because they're playing with energy and effort the whole game.
Right.
That's what they do.
We talked to Chris Jota earlier, and we asked him if he thought that this was a tournament team, and he said it should be. Like, this is the talent wise.
Yeah,
it should be a tournament team. But as we go along this season, and starting off the way that we're starting off, the level of opponents, things could change really quickly.
Yeah,
that's what everybody's just nervous about. Seeing who we're playing. And I haven't watched Kansas this year. I don't know if you've seen Kansas.
Yeah, they're good, man. They got one of the best freshmen in the country, Peterson, who can score the heck out of the ball. I mean, you got Bill Self at the helm, so he's going to make sure that he gets them right. They just lost to North Carolina at home, or on the road, excuse me. But they're talented, man. And then that third team, whoever they play, it could be Alabama. It could be a Michigan. I think Michigan's in there. So whoever they play that third game, it's going to be a test. And I think will know after this tournament if they're NCAA tournament team or not. You'll play enough games against good teams 3 in a row that you could really say, okay, they're an NCAA tournament team, because I don't see them losing 3 games and then making the tournament. I just don't see it unless they go on some. I don't know.
So last year in the early tournament, UConn lost 3 games, and they got it together as the season went along. And the 3 games they lost were 3 ugly losses. Mm-hmm. Like, I watched it. And then saw Coach crash out. You know what I mean?
We talked about it.
We talked about it, right?
Yeah.
Things can turn around, later in the season. And I'm not just trying to pre-count these games as losses. I just am looking at I don't want all to be lost after these 3 games if they don't go our way.
Right. It's early. It is early, but I'm just saying, as far as gauging, you know what I mean? Where they, if you play against 3 really good teams and you lose every one, I don't think you're an NCAA tournament team. That you know what I'm saying? That early.
It's not NCAA ready right now, but I'm saying it could get better. I do see this team as taking a little while to improve. And I know we ain't got no time. You know what I mean? To be waiting. I get it. But I do think that the team that we see come January is different than the team that we're going to see this weekend.
Yeah, I hope so. I you know what I'm saying? I hope. But my thing is, too, you don't want to put yourself in that hole, because now you don't have any quality wins in non-conference.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't win, you have to win one of those 4 games. And we're not even counting St. Joe's like that. I think they beat St. Joe's, but if you don't get any quality non-conference,
St. Joe's though.
No, St. Joe's is good. They're going to be physical. They're scrappy. They're going to get up and play like a Philly team. That's how they play. But you're putting so much pressure on yourself going into conference play. You really can't. You got to play mistake-free ball the whole conference, and that's hard to do. Sometimes you have a slip up. You lose to Miami. You know, you might lose to BC. Like you can't have any slip up, and then you got to steal some.
And you got to steal some. Yeah, no, you're right. I can't say that.
It's tough. You don't want to be in that situation going into conference play because now it's always in the back of your mind. Players, coaches, whatever. And now you got to be like, no mistake-free basketball. It's hard to play like that.
You know, I don't really see anything in particularly glaring from watching the game in the last game that I would say that coach needed to do differently. I know he got the tech and lost, temper a little bit, but that happens. Yeah. But I mean, just as far as just from a coaching standpoint, you can tell me what you see, but I don't necessarily see anything I could highly criticize from the coaching standpoint from yesterday. We just have to, number one, keep knocking down shots, shoot better free throws, and defensively, everybody has to be on the same page.
Yeah, I mean, you're not really. I mean, you could nitpick and do that. Oh, I would have subbed this guy at a different time, or he wouldn't have been in longer. You could always nitpick at that, and I know Coach Red and staff probably going back into the film and saying the same thing to themselves, right? When you're in the game, it's like it's different. When you go back and watch and be like, man, I should have. That's how you learn. You learn as a player watching film. You learn as a coach watching film. But like you said, it wasn't anything glaring that he did wrong. Players got to make free throws.
Yep.
Right. You got to take care of the ball. They had 12 turnovers. Yep. You got to rebound the basketball. No way you should just be +1 against Monmouth. You should be overwhelming these teams on the board. You should be 10+. These first 4 games should have been 10+ every single game. There's no way you should be -10 in the first half against Drexel. You shouldn't. That's an energy and effort thing. You're not going to it. You're not being aggressive to the ball. And then in half court, you got to execute. Because most of their time they're getting paint points because they're bigger, they're dominating, they just throw it inside, they're getting second chance opportunities, right? Or they're getting out in transition and doing that. Rarely have we seen execution in the half court to where they're getting a shot. We're like, damn, that was a good play, or that was a good ball movement. We haven't seen a lot of that.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. And let me about as far as the rebounding is one of the issues is some of the fours are kind of hanging out at 3-point line a little bit, because, I know basketball is different, and, when I was playing Blackwell's right there with me battling for rebounds, he could shoot, but he's inside, and I think it's a little bit differently when you have the fours kind of roaming a 3-point line, you kind of have a 5-man kind of rebounding by himself. That's what I see.
No, but you're 100% right. But look, we know Donnie is capable of knocking down the 3-point shot. We know that, but we don't want you to fall in love with it. And when you're standing out around the perimeter, just like you said, now you're taking yourself out of the rebounding equation. He had 2 rebounds against Drexel. That he should be averaging 9-10 rebounds a game. You can't be floating around the perimeter, him or Sadiq White. If you got an opportunity where you're picking pop or you got a trail and you got an open look, shoot the ball, but you don't want to be floating on the perimeter. That you're just taking the aggression out of your game. I think overall Donnie's done a good job of being aggressive in the paint and trying to he got to the free throw line 14 times. It's going to be different against Houston. You're probably not going to be. They're going to stand you up a few times because there's some big physical dudes down there. But we'll see how he adapts. Yeah,
I mean, he was one person that knocked down his free throws though.
14, yeah.
But everybody else was struggling with it, I mean, I think it'll be okay. I just think it's going to take a little time.
And you know what? The defense has been there for most of these 4 games, right? They didn't play great against Monmouth, but defensively, but they had their moments. But Monmouth did a good job of moving the ball.
They did.
But again, what is Houston going to do? Houston going to move that ball. They're going to move it, and they got players who like, all right, boom, I'm just going to get it and go.
Right.
They got playmakers. Monmouth didn't – the little guard had a great game. He was averaging 9 points in the season. He had 25.
What's his name?
let's see. I want to say Rice.
Yes, I was impressed by him.
Yeah, no, he you know what? He got to his spots. He was in control. He played with patience, and he made them when they were open.
Yeah, I was impressed. I was like, man, who's this dude?
He just made him. Oh, Justin Ray. He was 6 for 11,
Yep.
4 for 7, 9 for 9 from the free throw line.
Yeah,
It 1 turnover, 3 assists, and he just made himself some money for next year.
Oh, 100%.
You know, and that's crazy that we're talking like this. Like this is a game where, you know, he could go to a high level school now and get paid $700,000. He just made it. He got a check for himself off that game.
Shoot, Syracuse might be looking at him next year.
It's funny you said that because somebody said that they said Justin Ray, Syracuse Orange next year, 2026.
I'm telling you,
man, look, for real. He just made him some money, man. You got to give him kudos to that. But again, man, they got to. I'm no disrespect to any of these teams, but they're not the talent level. And I know talent is sometimes can be an overused word, but they shouldn't be there with you. They should not. You should be overwhelming these teams just by playing with energy and effort.